It's your great character today.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Great Character Podcast with me, Harry, Matt Wiley, Nathan Edwards, and now permanently from now on, Lewis Sweeney. He's back, but he's permanent. The transfer's been done, and he's here. How are you guys doing?
Transfer deadline day.
we had to put that sheet in last minute to get it done by 1 a.m., but it's been done, and
it was tight.
But I'd just like to start this podcast off on a solemn note. Breaking news in the last 10 minutes. Really, really sad. Unfortunately, Sir Captain Tom Moore has passed away at the age of 100. And what he's done in the last year for the efforts for supporting the NHS, walking around his garden, he's done so much. He gave us so much hope last year. And he's such a hero. And to die to this torrid virus just is horrible. And I'd just like to say rest in peace to him, because what a hero. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to die. Obviously, he's very old, but it's very sad. And I'd just like to start off the podcast with that message, although it's a sad note. But now we move on to something that makes me angry. Nah, I'm joking. But we're going to be talking about a lot of things today, and we're starting with VAR. So we'll be starting with VAR and Aston Villa versus Southampton. We'll then move on to the Premier League games and everything a bit like that. What's happening in the league, the mismatch at the top, what's all going on. Then we'll move on to deadline day yesterday. So we're recording this on a Tuesday. So deadline day finished last night at 11. So we're going to talk all the biggest transfers, all the deals on a really not a big day compared to a lot of other deadline days. It wasn't the biggest of occasion. It wasn't the biggest transfer window, but we all know why. And then we're going to finish off with NBA's expertise, and the expert in the top left-hand corner, if you're watching on YouTube, Matt will be talking about NBA. We'll try and pitch in. We're not the biggest NBA fans, but I know my stuff a bit, sort of. I've watched The Last Dance on Netflix. So yeah, we're going to start off with VAR. Obviously, Lewis, you're a Villa fan, so you benefited from it this time round. I'm fuming. Personally, Liverpool have been affected a lot by VAR decisions this season. And the fact that these VAR decisions are still so awful for every team, pretty much, it's happening to everyone. The fact that I still can't get over that goal being disallowed. I think the goal being disallowed is worse than the penalty shout. Yeah. Southampton were royally screwed over in that game. What is your opinion? From Villa's perspective, what is your opinion on what happened in those 90 minutes?
Well, I like to think I'm an unbiased Villa fan. I do feel really bad for Southampton. They were royally screwed from the game. Screwed of 3 points as well. I think they would have gone on to win the game. It's not the best performance we've had all season. I'm happy though. So I think we got screwed over by VAR a lot last season. And you could say that obviously the Hawkeye incident sort of made up for it. But I feel like they're still making up to do. But no more complaints from me. I think they've just pretty much VAR has won us 3 points single-handedly.
I've always been somebody with VAR. This season, you guys have known. I've put things in chats. I'm not very happy. I've mentioned it in lectures, various lectures. I don't like VAR anymore. I was happy it was coming in. I thought the World Cup, it did a good job. I was excited. I thought it was a good step, but I wanted it to be used properly. And even through last season, when a lot of decisions were awful as well, like the Firmino armpit one against Aston Villa was one that resonates with me. Even the one people could talk about when the two handballs, Liverpool versus Man City, that's very similar to the Matty Cash one, where Trent's arm was out and it hit the arm off the leg.
The leg though. That's the
yeah. And it's really hard because I was always someone, VAR, we should keep it, but we need to change the rules and the officials need better training. It needs to be used differently, but in a better way. But now it's getting so bad. I'm even thinking, do we even need VAR anymore? All the players obviously hate it. You've had De Bruyne and Henderson say in the past, they don't even know what the rules are anymore. They really don't like VAR. And then you got Salah the other night, obviously expressing his opinion he doesn't like it strongly. The margins are so small. It's like, I was talking to Matt earlier, it's like VAR can't be wrong, even though it's wrong all the time. With the Ings one, So Matty Cash's backside's out. They gave Ings offside from the sleeve. Am I right? It was the fact that his sleeve was out. Number one, since when did the rules change for that part of the arm wasn't handball? Who scores with that part of the arm? Let's be honest. And it was that small of a gap. How can it even be offside? To the naked eye, VAR is always to be correct. Always been to correct errors, obvious errors, clear
and obvious errors, yeah, and it isn't clear and obvious, is it? That's what you're saying when you talk about the fine margin. If you can't see it with the naked eye, how can you possibly expect the referee to see it the first time?
No, they should surely just. Well, to be honest, actually, we're talking about this. Southampton's goal was given. If we had without VAR, it would have been given offside anyway, because it was flagged offside incorrectly in my decision, in my opinion, by the guy on the assistant on the night. But the fact of the matter is that if VAR was used correctly, it would have been overturned to be a goal. But there's a rule in the Netherlands, I think it's the 10mm rule or something, where they give on the screen the striker or the attacker 10mm of grey area, which if it's within 10mm, the offside, they just give it as a goal, or they give the decision.
Yeah, so it's two lines touching, isn't it? The lines are 10mm wide, and if those lines are touching, then it's deemed as it's equivalent to umpires call in cricket. They're saying yes, there's a grey area, but there's not enough evidence to overturn it, which is brilliant, I think.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant as well. I think VAR has been used pretty well in the Champions League. It's just England that's being used terribly at the moment, and that was another. The fact that it was that close. Number one, it was his arm that they were going off, which I don't think it should be a thing anyway. If they're going to do it, it should be off a shoulder, in my opinion. But I don't even know what the rules are anymore because they change them all the time now. And they were in line. Nobody can say. Ings' body was clearly behind Matty Cash's arse. Clearly. And people were like, you said, Lewis, if it was John McGinn, it would be onside.
We'd be good, wouldn't we?
But no, I just think these things are ridiculous. The amount of happened this season. The Mane one against Everton, that was onside. The fact that they gave that offside to the Salah versus Brighton, I think arguably the Son one against Liverpool was pretty harsh. That was very close as well. I think that was more obvious than some of these other ones, but that was pretty close. They never go dead on the angle for starters. They have, it's always at an angle, so you can't clearly see if they're the straight line. And I don't even think the lines are right. Sometimes they're slanted the wrong way and stuff, like I said. I just think VAR needs so much change if it's going to work in this league. And that game showed everything that's wrong with it. I personally believe it should have been a penalty. I know there's some people out there that think it's harsh, but I think that's a clear. His arm's away from his body. I remember a Gomez one. They change the handball rule all the time, but a Gomez one against City, whereas he was moving his arm away in a natural position, but they gave it handball. They didn't give this one handball. It's so baffling. It baffles me.
You said it was handball, didn't you, Lewis?
100%. Yeah.
Don't more, mate.
I think it should have been a red card as well because he denied a goal scoring opportunity.
It was a goal. I think that would have
100%. I think it doesn't help the referees are getting worse. They're getting worse game by game. And I think it's because they're scared to make mistakes. I was watching Arsenal Man U, and it's one of the worst refereeing performances I've watched all season.
Was even the PGSMOL, is that? Oh, I probably butchered that. That might not even be right. But one of the
PGMOL.
Yeah, that's it. They've come out admitted how much I hate United against the Sheffield United game. They've come out and now admitted after the VAR decisions, the Sheffield United goal shouldn't have stood, and that the United goal should have stood. The one that Maguire got in the way of the keeper. It's a bit like last year when Van Dijk apparently obstructed De Gea when they were going for an equal 50-50 and De Gea wasn't strong enough and Van Dijk won it, or De Gea only punched it away. That's not a foul. But they gave it. It's like they're not consistent. If they were consistently wrong, fair enough, I guess. But they're not consistent at all. Every decision is irrational and different. And
don't give them ideas, Harry.
Huh?
If they're consistently wrong, don't give them ideas.
No, yeah. But I just think it comes to a point where do we need VAR in the league? Because it was meant to come in to change all of this debate, all these issues. And it's just created a hatred in the country, I think. A lot of people are hating VAR. And it's mainly the officials that run it, because VAR has proved to work in other sports, for starters, other countries, in football. Why isn't it working in England? That is the question. Like, why is it the officiating so poor? What is wrong with the rules? They're changing them all the time. Like the whole Aston Villa Man City goal, that was a farce, but they shouldn't change that rule midway through the season. Because now if somebody scores a goal and it's now ruled offside, that defeats the whole... Because then Man City have got an advantage from the fact that they scored that goal a few weeks ago. They might have gone on to draw that game 0-0 with Villa if they didn't score because of that. But they scored from that and they won the game. They won the game 2-0. But it could have been completely different. They would have dropped 2 points. The league would look different. And by the end of the season, it can be a different outcome. They should have kept the same rule throughout the whole season. I agree with Mourinho on that. What do you guys think about that? Keep the rules the same in the season and change them at the end? Because it needs a drastic change.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... Personally, I don't know if I'm going to get slaughtered for this, but I didn't think there was much wrong with the goal, if I'm honest.
Ooh.
I know I've got a Villa fan here, but it's like when... I think... Haven't Villa benefited from this in the past with Dion Dublin?
That's years ago, but yeah.
That's years ago, yeah. But he was behind Shea Given. Shea Given put the ball down, and he was behind him, and he came and stole in and scored the goal, and people accepted that, didn't they? It's not very sporting, but does it need changing? I don't know.
I think it does, because Rodrigo was miles offside. And
yeah, what?
If Mings left that ball, it would go to Rodrigo, be offside.
Yeah.
But because he went for the ball and got it wrong, Rodrigo can then come back into play. I think that's unfair, because he can easily nip round and nick the ball. I think that's unfair, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not very sporting. It's not very sporting.
Same with the whole... It's a bit different, but the Lovren one a couple of years ago. But the wrong thing about that wasn't, I reckon, fair enough, given a penalty. Liverpool fans might slate me for that as well. Lovren went for the ball, he missed it. Kane nicked it off him, was offside. Yeah, it is wrong. I think the Rodrigo one was a lot worse. But the problem with that one, if you remember, there's a clip of John Moss and the linesman. Neither of them know if it's a penalty, if he touched it, and they just guessed. And I feel like that's why... I just think the problem is the rules that are in place are poor. They're changing all the time. They're not great. They need changing, and the structure needs changing. But the officials that are enforcing them are just as bad. And that's why we're in this predicament where all these decisions are going wrong. What do you think on the subject, Nathan?
Oh, I just can't be asked. It's just crap, yeah. I'm just bored of it. Like every game, it's just a stupid call, and it's like I'd rather human error, because at least then, like, you can kind of understand why they made a mistake. Whereas with VAR, like, it's meant to get rid of it, but it doesn't. It just gets even more annoyed.
There's a thing. Last season, everybody was calling for referees to go to a screen and make their own decision on things, because it was like VAR were basically making the decision for them. And this season, when they started against the screen, I was happy. But then I noticed a pattern. Every time they go to a screen, it's always changed. Always. I don't actually think they're making that. They're listening to what's in their ear still. I don't think that they have the bollocks to actually change the decision. I genuinely believe that. It's only happened a couple of times with Mariner stuck with his decision with the Fabinho tackle against Fulham for that whole penalty drama. But I don't think it was a penalty. A lot of people thought it was a penalty. But Mariner stuck to his decision. Not many referees have the balls to do that, which is proving how technically they're always wrong. But I don't think they are always wrong. And then these VAR are getting in their head. They're not alone anymore. I think I was speaking about it recently. You might as well just have VAR as the referee, no human referees on the pitch, and just have a hooter every time there's a foul and VAR make the decision. Obviously, I'd never want that to happen, but that's effectively what we've got right now. The referee's meaningless half the time.
The linos are useless as well. I don't actually see the point in lines anymore besides a throw-in, but they're always clear.
But it's the whole Rashford one the other day against United. He was always offside, but the amount of times that the guy wouldn't put the flag up till after the move, when they're that obvious, it's ridiculous. And then there was the whole thing of sometimes they don't put the flag up even though they're offside, but a minute and a half later, a team might have kept the ball because of that offside, and they might score. Because it's so many passages of play earlier, it won't get ruled offside, which I think is ridiculous as well. I don't know.
Because if they carry on and the player injures himself and they go, Oh, but it was offside. He's like, I've just carried on play, injured myself, and he counts for nothing. So it's endangering players as well.
That's so much wrong. I could talk about officiating for hours. I think it's so poor and so much needs changing.
I don't think there's one good referee in the Prem. I can't think of one. Maybe Michael Oliver. He's all right. Every other one's rubbish.
I think Michael Oliver before VAR was clear.
Yeah, I think he was good.
Very good. But since VAR, he's been just as dodgy as some of the other ones.
John Moss, the one doing the Arsenal Man U game, and he was shocking.
John Moss, that was. I'm pretty sure. I think
It was, yeah, because I know he did the Liverpool game because someone said Shaqiri has the body of John Moss.
It's just, I don't know. There's so many problems with it. But I think, I'm still on the side of maybe, keep it, but change the officiating, change the rules, and make it work. But I'm edging closer to getting rid of it completely on that side because it's just making a mess and mockery.
I prefer human error.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, it's just more understandable.
I think the hard thing is goal line technology, bar the Villa Sheffield United one, bar that, goal line technology has come in and rarely made an error. If apart from that one, I don't think it has in the Premier League.
Because it's not relied on humans, is it normally? It's just it's not. It's technology.
It's so good, and then VAR.
Yes or no. Whereas this is subjective.
I was hoping VAR would come in and be similar to goal line technology, and it would end debates, but it hasn't. But I think now we should move on because Aston Villa.
Michael Oliver was the ref for the Man U Arsenal game, by the way.
What?
Michael Oliver was the ref for the Man U Arsenal game.
Was he? Was he John Moss? Oh no. Maybe John Moss was the one for the Liverpool West Ham then.
He was.
Yeah. But now Aston Villa got the 3 points in the end. European places, lots going on. I will pull up the Premier League table now. I think the Premier League table has had a big change over the last few games in the Premier League. The last week has changed a lot of things. So you now have Liverpool, my beloved Liverpool. So we were talking last week, Liverpool in crisis. Matt rightly said we're not in crisis. And we go and beat Spurs 3-1 away and West Ham 3-1 away. We're third, 1 point off United, 4 points off Man City. And if we beat them next week, 1 point, but they have a game in hand. The Premier League changes like that. It's crazy. I feel like we'll have this conversation this week and it will change again next week. And the table can be completely different. So you've got Villa in 9th, which I don't get how they're that low because it seemed like they were winning all the time.
Yeah, they've got like 20 games in hand, haven't they?
Yeah, and then, they haven't anymore. They're on 19 games, so they've only got 2 games in hand now. But anyway, Villa 9th, and with Everton 8th, they're easily in the hunt for the Europa League, Champions League places at the end of the season. Now, the top 4 starting to form itself naturally now, especially the top 3 with City, United, Liverpool.
I think Leicester will fall off.
Pardon?
I think Leicester will fall off again.
They're showing evidence of that. I've always said in the past, Brendan Rodgers is a great manager with no pressure. Last season, he proved it. Leicester was smashing it until it came to the pressure of making Champions League, bottled it. They're in the Europa League.
And they've lost Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, he's coming back now, I think, though. I think he's fit for the next game. But Leicester look like they're suddenly struggling again. And they have these moments where they look class for a few weeks and then they struggle. And I think they could still make top 4. But it depends on how Tuchel does with Chelsea, really. Because if Tuchel goes on a run with Chelsea, they'll make top 4 comfortably. So Tottenham are the ones that they're just without awful. They're awful. And but the top 3's formed itself now. I think they'll be the 3 challenging, but I think City are in a great position now. If they win their game in hand, 7 points clear. And if they beat us or get a draw next weekend, I mean, I can't really look past them. But I think if Liverpool get a run together, like I know Liverpool can, and now we've signed a couple of centre-backs, we'll talk about that later, Liverpool will be in the mix again. It's just suddenly weird. It's like Alexander Arnold said it, though. He said he doesn't think they've changed that much. They've just got the first goal, and now teams have opened up from the fact that Liverpool are now getting the first goal. So against Tottenham, we scored just before half-time. Second half, got another one. Tottenham did get one back, but the whole game stretched open. And Liverpool, when that happened, were always going to win that game. And it's West Ham sat back. Salah got the goal. Then they then pushed forward a bit, got their corner, banged 2-0, and suddenly Liverpool are taking control of the game, and the confidence, the aura, the mentality monsters are back in a way. I'm going to sound so biased saying that, but that's what I got from that. What do you guys think about the rest of the results, though? So United lost and then drew. So they've dropped 5 points. Leicester have lost and drew. West Ham then lost to Liverpool. Tottenham lost 2 in a row. Chelsea have now won and look a lot better, and City run away with it. What are you thinking about the top 6, top 10 situation right now?
Chelsea getting top 4, 200%.
What, Nathan?
That's all I have to say.
What did you say? I missed that.
Chelsea getting top 4, 200%.
200%.
Yeah.
You're a very different man to 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It was so good. It was just enjoyable to watch.
I'm saying this, and people can roast me. It's only Burnley. I know Liverpool lost to them.
Burnley have been decent recently.
They have. They beat Villa in midweek. But I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. I think Tuchel needs to show a bit more. It can't surely be 2 games. But I found it interesting how he just dropped Ziyech completely out of the squad, didn't he? Chilwell's off, and then Alonso on the bench. It's like the Conte system's back. So you got Alonso left wing back, Azpilicueta as a centre back in a 3, and then Hudson-Odoi looks like he will be a main star. He wants to build a team around that bloke. It looks like not around.
It is suited for him though. Like just running deep at players and crossing and shooting. Like he's got it all.
I guess if Werner gets firing, Chelsea will be a threat. I don't think
he just needs a bit of luck. Werner.
Like the one when he completely missed the ball from a Hudson-Odoi cross.
Yeah. He just needs a bit of luck, just like a keeper mistake or something, and then he'll be fine.
He doesn't have the form right now. I can see Chelsea making top 4. What do you guys think of you talking about Leicester? The Leicester drop off. What's happening there? Leeds suddenly beaten 3-1. They draw Everton after controlling the game, in my opinion. Where do they go?
I didn't see the Everton game, but I've read the reports, and I think they were. I think Everton were definitely second best, weren't they? I think Leicester, by all accounts, should have won that game. They've got what you might refer to as one of the easier tasks this weekend. They've got to. It's away, but they're playing Fulham. One of the teams that are almost certain to go down, if you ask me. I mean, I know that's not much of a hot take when you look at the table. The three teams in the relegation zone are going down. I think we've known that for a while.
I'm not sure. I've got a point to make on that.
I thought West Brom would get up.
No, I think Fulham will stay up.
I think West Brom.
Fulham have shown.
A big gap.
I can't deny. Fulham have shown in recent weeks that if they start getting results, they're a good enough team. They play good enough football to stay up in this league. There's no one else.
They're like Brighton though, but Brighton are a bit better at what they do. Like they sometimes just get more results. Whereas West Brom can grind out results against people like Fulham and Brighton. I think they could get up.
I'm going to throw a name in the hat: Sam Gollings, Jack Heather. If you do watch this, Wolves are getting sucked in, right?
Nah.
You say that 23 points, 14th in the league. They've lost a lot of games. They have lost 10 games this season. They're not playing good football by any stretch.
They have Arsenal, Leicester next, and then Southampton, then Leeds. Okay.
So if they lose those, Brighton, they are okay. They're 9 points above the relegation zone.
2 points.
2 points above Brighton. They're 9 points above the relegation zone. But I don't think you can count them or Newcastle out yet.
I want Newcastle to go. They're so boring to watch. Besides, they did win like 2-0, but normally they're so crap.
But so nobody thinks that Wolves are even a pot. So you're just discounting them completely.
No,
not a chance.
They won't even be in a battle. You don't even think they'll be in a battle.
Not a chance. I don't think there'll be much of a battle, honestly. The 3 teams that are currently in the relegation zone, and I do apologise to any fans of these teams. That's you, Simo. I do. But I just think I cannot see any other eventuality than the 3 teams that are currently in the relegation.
I think West Brom could stay up. I don't know why.
I was thinking that, but then
They're think that game so bad.
The result at the game.
So bad there won't be a battle.
The result with the game against Fulham was interesting because Fulham showed in the first half that they can play great football. Yes, it's against West Brom. Then West Brom came back. They need to get the grit of an Allardyce team that they don't have yet. Once they get that identity, Allardyce said they're struggling to find that identity and he's struggling to get through with them. He might need a couple of seasons there. I reckon he could sacrifice going down with this West Brom team to make them good enough to come up and stay up. Maybe. I could be wrong there.
I just think the people who've signed just suit it how he plays perfectly. Like Snodgrass.
Maitland-Niles, you think suits the way West Brom play?
No, but like Snodgrass, he will get you a couple of goals from pieces. Like, what's his name? Who's the centre back called? Oh, he scored against Liverpool.
Oh, Ajayi.
Yeah, him and Robert Snodgrass.
Nathan, you're cutting out a bit there, mate. I'm sorry.
Connection's a bit rough.
Your connection's a bit rough.
Damn it. All right.
But wait, we'll go from now. So Nathan, you think Ajayi is a great defender, do you?
I just think he can score a lot of goals.
Well, he's only scored 2.
I think the problem is he can't score. You look at the amount that West Brom are shipping as well. What you were saying, Harry, about the identity of the Sam Allardyce team. The Sam Allardyce team don't concede a lot, do they? I would agree that they're certainly lagging behind in that because of the fact that they concede. You know, I think it's about 4 games this season where they've shipped 5 goals at home, haven't they? I also want to point out what you were saying about Allardyce. If he sacrifices them going down, I think if West Brom go down, Sam Allardyce will leave because he's never been relegated, has he? He's never been relegated from the Premier League.
Imagine he leaves 2 games before the end of the season. He walks 2 games.
He might, but if you ask me, that ain't happening. And once they go down,
yeah. But if it looks like they're going to go down, he's lost his record. Why can't he stay there and stick it out?
Because he just won't. He's
not manager. It's not something he'd do.
He knew the risk of coming to West Brom as such a poor team that what could happen. Like, this was the worst team he's taken on, in my opinion, ever.
He wants a challenge, of course he does, but
yeah, but did he really think? So he just thinks he's going to do 6 months and save them. Did he really think that?
Of course he does.
I don't think he did.
You have to believe that in football. You have to believe it. It's pointless even turning up if you don't think they can't be saved.
Well, I know that. But so he thought though 8 months was all he needed, and if they go down, he wants to leave. I think that just I don't like Sam Allardyce personally. Yes, fair enough. He's made teams escape, but if he leaves West Brom after making his signings for what we've got 17 games left in the season, so I don't know. I just can't see West Brom. There's no chance West Brom are staying up. I think
they're more likely to stay up than Fulham.
No, I think Sheffield United and Fulham have way more of a chance than West Brom do. Sheffield United, if they get a string of games together, they won't stay up. No, I'm not saying they're staying up, by the way, but they'll definitely get closer to that barrier. They'll finish on like 20-something points, I think.
Just on Sheffield United, what you were saying, the fact that if they can get a run together, they did. Maybe start what you might consider a bit of a run. I know they lost to Man City, but only narrowly, I'd say. But they started that run, as it were, by beating Man United. And I know that I said a couple of episodes ago, there's absolutely no way that Man United will win the league. Did I even bet you, Harry, 50 quid that Man United will not win the league? I hadn't expected that they would. I always thought they'd drop off. I hadn't expected that they'd drop off quite so soon after I said that.
It was literally because I watched them against Liverpool, and yes, we battered them in the FA Cup, in my opinion.
We
played them off the park, but they got the result again, and that's what they've been doing all season. They've been getting the result, and then the last week it's like that stopped. They've played as badly, but they I guess in the end, I should have seen it from this view. It was going to bite them in the bum in the end, and it is biting them now, conceding first to Sheffield United. I don't think, but don't tell me when they equalised, anybody thought Sheffield would go and score another. I know I didn't.
I don't think anyone did they? No.
But yes, I admit my mistake, but it's still not over.
It's not over.
So I don't want United to win it. I don't want them to do well. I hope they carry on losing and drawing games, to be honest, and go for a run like Liverpool did a few weeks ago. Or recently.
It was more of a one-way bet, wasn't it? It was more me saying, I am so confident. It's not, I don't know, did you genuinely think that they were going to win it? It was just me saying, I am so confident that they're not going to win it. You were a bit more, they might do.
Yeah, and well, yeah, I think now the reason we've delayed this podcast till today, guys, is the deadline day, which wasn't actually that exciting, if I'm truly honest. As a Liverpool fan, it's the most exciting it's been in years because we normally get our business either don't do any or get it done really early. And so we don't have to think about deadline day. But the madness of Matip, unfortunately, somehow getting a season-ending injury from the tackle he made. It was literally brilliant tackle from when Son was running through and he got his foot in and turned them off. But he didn't look like anything happened. And Klopp said they strapped his foot up ready to come out for the second half, but it just blew up like a balloon. And the luck, number one, you couldn't rely on Matip anyway, so we needed to get these centre-backs in, even if he was going to come back before the end of the season. But all four of our centre-back options are out. And our three actual centre-backs, our main centre-backs we went into the season, all got season-ending injuries. If anybody actually thinks you can win the league on that, or thinks Liverpool will be rubbish if we don't win the league, it's a joke. And I don't think people at half-time or people have been pinning a Liverpool's slowness on Thiago, which I still don't understand, because I think Thiago's let it take over, and he's playing in a team where the midfield he's playing in, it wouldn't be the midfield if our players were fit. And he's getting used to the football again. And he has bursts of brilliant moments, and people are forgetting that. And people pinning it on that is just a joke. We've lost our three main centre-backs. Fabinho's injured. Henderson's playing centre-back with Nat Phillips, who Nat Phillips is really impressed, by the way.
He looked good.
If people go, oh, Liverpool rubbish for not retaining their title, with the amount of injuries and the amount of problems we've had this season, I think they're just out of touch, really.
You know what you need to do? You need to put, whoever wins it, you need to put a little asterisk next to them and say, because Liverpool had all the centre-backs in.
Obviously, if anyone beats us to it, they deserve it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying people shouldn't slag us off if we don't win it. Like, Liverpool fans shouldn't expect us to win the league this season because we've got lots of issues. But with those two centre-back signings, I'm not like every Liverpool fan that's going, oh my God, I'm really happy or I'm really annoyed. Like, it seems like there's two extremes. Like, somebody's like really happy even though they've never watched Davis or Kabak play in their life. I've never watched them. But they're really annoyed because they're really low-level players, people think they are. Because Kabak's from a Schalke that's won once in 33, 34 games. And Ben Davis is from Preston. What people are forgetting, Klopp is known for doing this. Robertson, relegated with Hull. Wijnaldum, relegated with Newcastle. Shaqiri, relegated with Stoke. He buys these players. He always has. He always will. And Davis, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm more confident in Davis becoming a top Liverpool player than Kabak, because ball playing centre-back, left-sided. Yes, we've got Van Dijk. So he's not going to play once Van Dijk's back. Don't we get it? Well, you never know. We could partner him in the future. Who knows? But I'm more confident in him building Davis up to being a Premier League top centre-back than Kabak. Number one, because we've got Kabak for 6 months and we don't know if we're keeping him because it's depending on his performance. I think Kabak will come in and do a better job than Davis. Could be wrong. Come back to this podcast, it can be completely wrong. Kabak is more proven in top leagues. But I also thought Merson having a go at Liverpool signing Kabak and saying his agent deserves a knighthood because he plays for Schalke. Kabak's not the reason Schalke are playing poorly.
Kabak's meant to be good. I swear loads of teams want him.
Huh?
I swear loads of teams want him. Like AC Milan, Juventus.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's meant to be quite good.
It's easy to look at this Schalke team this season, but everyone forgets that Kabak was one of the most highly rated young centre-backs in Europe, and he was one of the breakout stars of the Bundesliga, obviously last season.
Yeah.
And they're the coup for 18 million, rising to 26. But
if we get him full time, it's it's 1 million loan fee and then an extra 500k if we win the Champions or get qualification for the Champions League or win it or win the Premier League or something. And they get an extra 500k. And then I think if Kabak leads us to winning the Premier League playing centre back, he'll get signed. But I think Liverpool, this is a stop.
I think he'll sign him anyway, probably. Unless it's absolutely shocking.
It's not an obligation to buy. that was one of the main parts of the deal, was the fact that they didn't want obligation because they didn't know if they wanted to keep him. It's just like a test period. 6 months, if we do it, we've got the agreement in place to buy him. But if he's not good enough, we just won't get him. But I think Liverpool holding out to try and get Upamecano for his release clause in the summer. Really.
I think he'll go to Bayern.
Yeah, probably, because Bayern just buy from all the.
Alaba's leaving.
Oh, Leipzig, a little German club.
They are a little German club. They are. I'm sorry. They were formed in 2009. I don't care. They're still a small club. They've not exactly got loads of history, have they? So, no, I mean...
Man United that one time earlier this season. That'll do for me.
Yeah, and hopefully we smack them. But...
Yeah.
They're semi-finals last year.
Huh? They got to semi-finals. I think they got... Did they semis? Yeah.
They got to semi-finals.
I think it was semis, yeah.
Yeah, because they beat Atletico in the round of 16. Or did they got not? Oh, I can't remember. But Leipzig are a good team. Anyway, we're getting away from the deadline day theme here. But yeah, Leipzig are a good team. Hopefully we knock them out. But in regards to the signings for Liverpool, I'm happy we finally got the business done. It's obvious that getting 2 centre-backs, that Matip's injury was serious. Unfortunately, it was the rest of the season, which is our luck. But I don't think we'll see Davis and Kabak play together. Or at least not for a while.
Not for a while.
It will be like another month. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if Kabak can play tomorrow, is it? Or Thursday? I think it's tomorrow. I don't think Kabak can play against Brighton. Davis can. I don't think we'll see Davis with Phillips either. I think it will be Phillips and Henderson still, centre-back. But Davis will come in. I think Kabak will come into the team before Davis does, though.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
Matt, who do you think will be better, Kabak or Davis? Who do you think will be a better signing?
Is that me?
Matt.
Oh,
I thought you were talking to Harry. Sorry, mate.
What did I say? I can't remember what I said.
Matt, who do you think is going to be a better signing, Kabak or Davis?
Well, I mean, when you look at the fact that Kabak was already at Schalke and in the Bundesliga and therefore in the top division, yes, I know Schalke weren't doing very well, but if he's had that experience against some of the best already, he might be quicker to adapt. So I would be inclined to lean towards him.
With the Championship, though, I think Watkins proves it. A lot of the Championship, like Mopé and ones that have come into the Premier League.
Oh, it's not to say that the Championship...
Yeah, I know.
The Championship at all. It's a brilliant league. I love it.
Being a centre-back in the Championship and actually playing out of the back in the Championship means he's a good footballer. I'm not going to say...
I'm not doubting he's a good footballer, not at all. No.
Yeah, I know. I'm putting devil's advocate out there a bit. Davis, I reckon, he's obviously, Klopp's seen something in him. He's a ball-playing centre-back on the left-hand side. Championship's not an easy league. It's arguably tougher than the Premier League in the fact that the whole Championship is a really, really tough league, especially to get out of.
Well, I saw Davis play when you were saying I hadn't seen Davis. I saw Davis when Barnsley played Preston, actually, when I was at Barnsley.
What was your opinion on that, then?
I can't say I had an opinion. He didn't do anything too spectacular. Barnsley won 2-1. So he didn't do anything too spectacular. But certainly for the first half, he looked solid. So
I think with that, though, with people going, Kabak and Davis aren't from the biggest teams, but they're coming into a defence where you got Robbo and Trent either side of you. It's a bit different from having who they did have. So it's not like that. And under the coaching, it's a different way of playing as well. They'll probably be used to sitting deep and soaking up pressure, where they're going to be taught to sit high. They won't have to do loads of defending. It's going to be very different for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt. The next big one, I think there's 2 main transfers I want to talk about. Firstly, we spoke about him earlier a bit. Ainsley Maitland-Niles to West Brom. That shocked me. I was not expecting that. Obviously, Leicester, he turned down the chance to go to Leicester. He wants to play at West Brom. I think he's a very talented player, very talented footballer, and Arsenal will miss out on it. It's only a loan, I think, to start with. We'll see what happens, but that's a big coup for West Brom.
I think he decided to go to West Brom so he can play midfield. That's what I saw. Like at Leicester, he would have played right back probably, but he wants to have a career in midfield. So I think that's why he's gone to West Brom.
I think
fair play. I think it'll be good.
I
think they'll stay up.
A lot of right backs are formed from midfielders, Trent included. But I don't get why it's such an unattractive thing for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, because he had a chance at Arsenal to pin right back down. He didn't. Play at top club. He wasn't bad at the position, I don't think. Is he that good at being a midfielder?
I watch Arsenal quite a lot. Yeah, I watch Arsenal quite a lot. I watch them pretty much week in, week out. They're sort of that neutral team that I follow. Yeah. So I can talk about them. And Maitland-Niles, in that 9 months where Bellerin was out with an ACL injury, I think he was quite impressive at right back. And even this season, a lot of people would rather see him play in that position over Bellerin, because Bellerin hasn't had his best year, but he's got this strange obsession with wanting to play as a box-to-box midfielder, but no Arsenal fan sees him in that position long term. And the situation was, Arsenal didn't want to loan him out to Leicester because they're considered direct rivals now. His agent buggered up the Southampton move, so West Brom was sort of the last resort. But he's got this strange playing style that if you're watching, he walks around the pitch like he's high. He's always jogging and strolling about. It's mental. So
he probably is.
What's that?
He's a cool dude, like the way he takes penalties.
Yeah.
Calm, isn't he?
I remember when he wore a chain in the Europa League game once, and he had to take his gold chain off.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but he's not an Allardyce-looking player, but
definitely not. He's going to be playing with people like. I reckon he's going to get frustrated because I reckon he'll think he's too good for West Brom.
Absolutely,
and he's going to get frustrated with. He'll play balls or do different things. His players around him won't be good enough to do. Rather than having a Aubameyang or who hasn't actually been that good this season, or Saka and players like that around him, Emile Smith-Rowe, he's going to have players that can't do these things around him. So I think he
just wants to prove himself at midfield. So if he does do well, it's going to be good for him. But he'd never get into the Arsenal team for some reason, because
is his Arsenal career
right back, because Mikel Arteta loves Bellerin for some reason, even though some games he's absolutely shocking.
Yeah. Is his Arsenal career over?
I think so. He does. I think
it is, because he was playing left wing back for Arsenal. Remember, in the FA Cup final and the semi-final. Now Arteta decided Cedric's going to be a backup left back, which bewilders me. So I think he wanted him sold at the start of the season. Remember, to Wolves, and I don't think he's done himself many favours over the last 6 months and proved why he should stay. So. Yeah, I think it's over for him pretty much.
Arteta's quite cutthroat, you know. He is one of freezing players out. I've noticed that. A bit like Mourinho in that aspect, but he doesn't really. He's not very vocal on it. But Cedric, actually, I think Cedric's been good since he's come in for Arsenal.
Pretty good, yeah.
One of those passes the other day, the cross field against Southampton. And I don't know. I think Arsenal are a funny one. They look like they could be a good team, and they keep giving evidence that they could be, but then they sometimes then just go through a poor run of form. I mean, the abuse Willian gets isn't warranted, but at any stretch.
He wasn't even that bad against Man U. All my Arsenal friends are saying he was crap. I thought he was all right. I thought
that was one of Willian's best performances in bar the Fulham one at the start of the season. He came on, he changed a lot of it. He came on a couple of attacking. Yes. He should have put his foot through that chance. I think everybody admits that. Yes, he should have. He doesn't look like he's that bothered about playing for Arsenal. But he did play all right. Like that one of the balls in. I can't remember where. I don't know. Where he dragged it back. But yeah. So yeah. I think I'm a bit harsh on him. Like Troops absolutely goes mental. That must be an act. But then I do think Saka, I think Ødegaard, will have to see how he does. But Smith-Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, all these youngsters are the future, and then should start for Arsenal week in, week out.
Definitely. Well, you saw the improvement in their performance. Chelsea, it was against Chelsea, wasn't it? When Arteta made all those changes, and he went with youth. He went with the likes of Saka and Smith-Rowe, and he brought them all in. And it could have been a risk, but it paid off. But it's always the case that bringing youth in, I think the problem that Arsenal were facing, Alan Shearer said this on Match of the Day, they've lost that desire youngsters will always give you 110%. They might not be technically good enough yet, but they will always give you that desire. And if that's the only thing that Arsenal are lacking, then yeah, there's every chance they'd push up now. Yeah.
Their transfer window was more outgoings, wasn't it? But talking about ingoings now, and that's King going to Everton. So there's a lot of rumours that you're going to Fulham. He's not played loads for Bournemouth this season. Didn't actually play that well in the Premier League last season. What do you think about this move? My cousin, who's an Everton fan, said this is a 6 months. This the end of his Bournemouth contract is this summer, so he's got 6 months basically with the loan fee to prove himself. And if he does well, they'll sign him as a free agent at the end of the season. What do you think about this move? Is this good for his career? Do you think he should have chose Fulham over Everton? Do you reckon he'll get into this Everton side? What do you think?
I think it's a good move. I like it. I think it's a good move for Everton. They're getting. Yeah, he hasn't had the greatest past 18 months, but he's proven at the Premier League level he can score goals in the Premier League. We've seen that. He's done that for Bournemouth. They've paid described it as a nominal fee, because obviously it would have just left for nothing, wouldn't it? Because he wants signing a new deal with Bournemouth. I think it's a good move for him going to Everton, because now I suppose, yes, there's a chance that he's not going to play as much, but if he does play, if he is given that chance, then you would have to think that he will be given that chance. You know, they're not just going to sign him up and not play him. If he is given that chance and he can prove himself, then he is guaranteed to stay in the Premier League. Whereas with Fulham, if he was given the chance, even if he was given the chance and proved himself, the rest of the team aren't good enough. I mean, we've already said this, have dismissed Fulham out of hand, but Fulham are going down. So I think for him, obviously it's a big if, it's a little word with a big meaning. He can, as long as he does prove himself at Everton, then he's back on his feet as a Premier League striker. And he is a Premier League striker, he's proved it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he is definitely a Premier League calibre.
Fans wanted him all summer as well. So, because he's versatile as well, he plays on the left, goes down the middle. I think he's a perfect Premier League striker for a top 6 club, which Everton have looked for me.
I just want to go back to your Fulham point again. Do you not think, though, so they've got Ademola Lookman, they've got Anguissa, who's a great midfielder in my eyes, very good. Loftus-Cheek has his moments. Cavallero's all right. If they stuck King in that team could stay up. Do you not think? Do you not think that? You don't think there's any chance that even with King in that team, with the front line of King, Loftus-Cheek, Lookman, and then you got Anguissa behind, you don't think there's any chance they could stay up? Obviously, he's not moved there. Obviously, he hasn't. But even if he did, you're saying that he's just going to a team that's getting down.
I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit hasty in the fact that you can't dismiss it out of hand. I'll give you that. But I just think when you come up, when you come up to the Premier League, if you're going to stay up, you need to have that solid. You need to play ugly, and that's why Sam Allardyce has been good at keeping teams up. You need to play ugly. You need to be a bit physical. You need to have a very, very solid, strong back line, and you need to hump it forward. And Fulham don't do that. Fulham are like Brighton. I think you were saying this, Nathan, earlier, where Fulham play like Brighton, and they try and play nice, passy football, and they try. The problem is with that, when you come up against 13 out of the 13, 14 out of the 17 Premier League teams that were already there, they do it better than you, and so they rip you apart. It's like Manchester City against Fulham. They play a similar style. Manchester City do it 10 times better, so they just rip you apart. And while they're ripping you apart, they give you goal difference of pasting as well, which can often be crucial in a relegation fight. But I just think when you look at the table, they are not going to make that point difference up.
You say that teams, I agree, when teams like Burnley have been successful, but then look at teams like Wolves came up, they have better players. Either way, these teams have better players than Fulham. I'm not saying that. Wolves came up, passed it around, we're like that, we're good. Villa came up, scraped up, but they played that kind of football in a way as well.
Yeah.
Brighton play that kind of football. Leeds this season play that kind of football. They're going to stay up. I don't think the method is just pump it up and have a good back line.
It's not an absolute rule, but I do think, Leeds are probably I've got a dad who supports Halifax Town and a mum who supports Sheffield Wednesday. Leeds are right in the middle of it, and so I'm no fan of Leeds at all. And they've just kind of torpedoed my argument a little bit here. But I do think you do still need that solid defence. And you talk about Brighton playing that passy football. They do play that, and they stayed up. But you look at who they've got. They've got Webster at the back. They've got Dunk. They've got this solid defensive core. And that is what you need. And I think Fulham haven't got that.
I think Fulham could have that in Anderson. He's a solid centre-back. And I think Fulham at the start kicked themselves in the foot. If Fulham had a better start, they'd have a good chance to stay up. Because in the last 10, not 15 is too many, but like 10 to 12 games, Fulham have had a good fight against teams like United, Chelsea. They drew with us. They've beat Leicester away. They prove against the top teams they can give it the big uns a bit. So I don't know. Maybe I've got my faith in Fulham just because I've predicted them to stay up at the start of the season, but my faith could be in the wrong place. I think Fulham are good enough. I don't know why. I could get, not that we get any comments or anyone even talks to us about this podcast, but people might think my opinion's completely ludicrous. But I just think Fulham could be good enough. Anyway, again, I've distracted us from what we were talking about.
Closer, if the battle was closer, I would not be as final and hardline as I'm being. But it's just the fact that I don't think they can make that difference up.
Hi, guys. We're back. Sorry, we just had a few technical difficulties there with Nathan and he had to go. So we're back now. Talking about transfers, I've waffled on a bit, mainly because I don't think that much has happened in this transfer window that's that interesting. One of the ones that, from a Liverpool standpoint and Southampton standpoint, we always talk about them in transfers. Minamino's gone on loan to Southampton, but with no obligation or option to buy, just a 500k loan fee. What do you think about that one? Because I'm stuck on Minamino in the fact that he's not been given enough chances, in my opinion. He's had a few, but since that Palace game, he's, other than the Villa kids one, he's literally not played. So it's really weird. It's really weird. The treatment of him has been really weird, but obviously Klopp doesn't think he's good enough. Could he find his way back into a strong point in the Liverpool squad will he consistently play with Southampton and get himself back in the mix with Liverpool? What do you think?
I don't know where he'd play. Where would he play at Southampton? Because they can't drop Chance or Danny. He needs to play rotation, I think.
Versatile, isn't
he? He is very versatile. He can play winger. Cam.
But do they play a Cam? I thought they normally play 4-4-2, don't they?
4-4-2, I think.
Yeah. So I don't know where he fits, but if he gets a couple goals, a couple good performances, maybe he'll get given a chance. But I don't think so. I don't think he's good enough for Liverpool.
But you say you don't think he's good enough, but I don't. He's been played, number one, a lot of the time he's played this season, he's been played as centre mid. Minamino's not a centre midfielder. He just isn't. So he's playing the position he played in, the right position, was he played in the front three against Palace and he proved his worth and he had a really good game. Obviously, everyone else had a really good game that day because we smashed them. But Minamino's not been given good opportunities or a chance in the team, really. Whereas he's given Origi plenty of opportunities and he's still sticking with Origi, which Origi had a good game against West Ham. He did. I think the best thing for Minamino is to move on and get a loan, but I'm glad they're not got option to buy because I still think he deserves another chance in this Liverpool team. Not had long enough. It's been a weird year. He's basically playing. He didn't know the language. He's come into a team during a pandemic where there's no fans either. So it's a very weird situation for him. And I just think I hope he plays at Southampton, plays well, and comes back to Liverpool a better player and shows why he should be in this Liverpool team or at least given a go. Especially when you have got Jota, so when Jota's fit and one of the front three isn't firing, Jota will play. But I don't think a front three of Minamino, Jota and Salah would be bad. We haven't seen that, really. So I think, and like Firmino's had plenty of times this season where he hasn't played that well. Same with Mane, where Minamino could have come in. Against Burnley, Minamino could have played, but he didn't. Played Origi. So I just think Shaqiri's one, though, that has proven a bit like Shaqiri was a bit like Minamino. It kept looking like Shaqiri was getting injured or left out. Klopp didn't like him, and he's worked his way back into this Liverpool setup, and he's now getting lots of opportunities. He played really well against Southampton. So I think, not Southampton, against West Ham even, because he didn't play well against Southampton, Shaqiri, when he came on. But no, I think Minamino hopefully gets a chance at Southampton and proves his worth.
It's the best way to get into the Liverpool team, isn't it? Play for Southampton.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, he'll be amazing, and he'll never leave the team now. Southampton's our academy. No, I like Southampton.
And thankfully, Barcelona have stopped being our parent club.
Yeah, well, you say that, but Wijnaldum might be moving there, so it's not really. As long as Van Dijk doesn't leave. But no, other than that, there's been a couple of transfers here and there. We got Kadir.
Tomori.
Pardon?
Fikayo Tomori.
Yeah, to AC Milan. Kadira to Hertha Berlin. DeAndre Yedlin left Newcastle.
They've got good players, Hertha Berlin.
Yeah, they do. Guendouzi's done all right since then.
Cunha as well. He's quite good. The cam.
They've got that Christoph Piatek that was amazing.
He's dropped off there, hasn't he?
But the biggest transfer we haven't spoke about yet is Barnsley's new striker, Matt. Who is that?
Barnsley's
Andy Longer.
I've got to be honest. I've got to make sure I pronounce his name right. He's come from the MLS. He's come from Orlando City. You spell it. It's called Daryl Dike. Now you spell his last name Dike. So obviously that's led to much hilarity, shall we say? But no, apparently it is pronounced DK. He's American, from the MLS, of Nigerian descent. He's going to play Barnsley number 10. Take a bit of pressure off Karlo Woodrow. Barnsley like to play. Obviously it's one of those formations. It's very fluid, but they play with wing back. They play 3 at the back, 2 wing back, 2 in centre mid, and then 3 up top. Obviously, when they're defending, it becomes 5 at the back. When they're going forward, it becomes 4 in midfield. But the thing is, Karlo Woodrow is their top scorer, but they haven't really got a lot of reinforcement. They've got a fella called Victor Adebayo, who's a bit of a cult figure. He's very popular amongst the fans. Who's that?
The occult figure like Divock Origi was a couple of seasons back with Liverpool.
Oh no, he ain't going out that big yet. He ain't going out that big. But they just call him Big Vic, and they like him. Because he's quite heavy set. He's quite a big fella. He scored a very decent goal actually against Preston. I'm not sure if it was Ben Davies that he muffled off the ball, but he scored a good goal against Preston when I saw them. But yeah, it's just about providing that extra little bit of backup and making sure that Woodrow hasn't got to play every single minute of every single game. Obviously, he's their undisputed number 9, but yeah, get this fella in. He's a 6-month loan. While obviously the MLS isn't happening at the moment, won't be for a couple of months, but then he's loaned, and then obviously he'll move back in the summer. That's all it's about really. He is the backup man. But it's the really good thing actually is he's only 20. Harry, when's your birthday?
July.
Oh, I was wondering. He's born in June 2000.
So he's basically my age because I'm 21 in July. So
yes, he will be 21 in June. Yeah. And is Barnsley very much at the moment got a focus on youth. They've got the youngest squad in the Championship, which is really, really good. And yeah, that's all it's about really, just getting in that extra bit of backup in the hope that they can push on and do something. And yeah.
There's been some not breaking news, but the teams right. So this is the night of the Arsenal Wolves game. So we'll see Wolves versus Arsenal. See how that one goes. And after my comments at Wolves, I might have people coming through my throats. But they've changed their lineup again. So they've got Neto playing left wing back, which is very interesting. Semedo's back to right wing back. Same back three. So Bolly, Cody, Kilman. Then Neves, Matinho. Then Podence, Willian, and Adama up front.
Is Odegaard starting for Arsenal?
Nope. He is on the bench. And
he's on the bench,
unchanged apart from Saka comes in for Martinelli. So Arsenal, I think, will win that game.
Aubameyang's back on the bench as well through personal issues, which is good.
Yeah, Aubameyang's back on the bench as well.
That's quite surprising he goes straight in.
Who goes straight in?
Aubameyang. It just shows how good Pepe's been recently.
Yeah, Pepe has been good.
Yeah.
It's the best spell he's had as an Arsenal player, in my opinion. But I think what we need to move on now, we've not got loads of time left. what we need to move on now is to the NBA. We're going to finish off with a 5-10 minute conversation about the NBA. We don't personally know loads about it, but it's interesting. We're a quarter way through the season, aren't we, Matt?
We are.
Take it away. Take it away.
Shortened season. Excuse me. Shortened season due to COVID. Usually we would have 80-odd game season. We've got 72 this time around, which is not much shorter, but just enough. So yeah, most teams have played somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 games, and we're starting to get a bit of an idea of who's going to be the movers and shakers, as it were, in this season. But yeah, we've very much got Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid in centre. Look particularly good, which is a shame because this is a shout out to my friend Alex, who first got me into basketball in the NBA. He supports the Boston Celtics, and so do I. And unfortunately, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics are the Liverpool and Manchester United.
You think it's that big?
Of the NBA. Boston and LA is the big rivalry, the big rivalry, but there is definitely a passionate. So
is it more like Liverpool Everton? So Liverpool Everton is the Philadelphia Boston, and then Boston LA is Liverpool United.
It's a rivalry. We'll just put it at that. I mean, I don't know if you can compare it, can you? But there's definitely a bit where they don't like each other. We'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean they're doing quite well. Boston Celtics, they're not as good, but look okay. Which is good actually, because when I was chatting to Alex, he was suspected that they might struggle when they've lost a fellow called Gordon Hayward, who's gone to Charlotte Hornets, who are owned by Michael Jordan.
And they've got LaMelo Ball, haven't they?
They've got LaMelo Ball,
and he looks like. I say I don't know much about NBA. I do follow it a bit. Like I know the draft and I know the teams. Like I know Boston Celtics' main player is Jason Tatum, a youngster that's.
Jason Tatum, yeah. Taco Fall, do you know Taco Fall?
I've never heard of Taco Fall.
Taco Fall is. I'll have to Google exactly how tall he is, but he is the. I know we're all, the average height in the NBA is probably something like 6'8". Taco Fall, his height, he is currently one of the tallest living humans.
Drum roll.
7'5", which is 2 meters 26 in.
7 foot.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a bit of a. Talking about cult figures, yeah, he's a bit of a popular one. But no, so yeah, Boston Celtics, they're in and among the fringes, might do something, not going to fail drastically. But no, the definite big teams that we've got are definitely the two LA teams. Obviously, Lakers have got, I forgot his name, LeBron James, biggest star in the league out of anyone. Clippers, Los Angeles Clippers, not too far behind. But for me, my pick to win it, with a bit of assistance from Alex, are Brooklyn Nets.
That's what I was gonna ask you about the Brooklyn Nets, because there was a lot last season. Kevin Durant was out injured. They were known for signing old, proven, and they've done it again. They've got James Harden now, haven't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's he is comfortably one of maybe just behind LeBron, best players in the league.
What's your opinion on Steph Curry? Is he in the conversation for the GOAT? Because obviously, I think after watching The Last Dance, I'm a classic casual fan. Michael Jordan.
Well, yeah. The Warriors have obviously they've had a fair share of injuries, so they struggled last year because they got injured. But yeah, I mean, he had an absolutely brilliant game at the beginning of this season, which I took great delight in rubbing in Alex's face because he's in my ESPN fantasy basketball team. But yeah, the thing that really always surprises me about the NBA is just how brilliantly talented they are. They can put a ball in a basket, in a hoop from pretty much anywhere on that court. Maybe not right back, but
really, NBA hinges on mistakes. If somebody doesn't get it,
so blocks,
back and forth, or blocks as well. There's skill there. That's not what I mean. But a lot of because they're so skilled and there's so many points scored. it takes a little minor mistake to miss a basket or a couple of baskets, and suddenly they're behind, and it's hard to get back because if a team's on a roll, I don't know basketball that well, but I know when I played NBA 2K20, I found it quite tough. If you go behind,
I've played the video game a bit. I don't like playing the video game because it is very tough. It is, yeah. But yeah, the fact that the skill, and obviously the teams are so small. You only start with 5. The squads are only made up of 15. I know there's 30 teams in the NBA. But there's only 15 players per team, so it's a very, very select group. I know obviously basketball is bigger elsewhere in the world, but it's not like American football where if you're not in the NFL, you're nothing. You can be in Europe and you can be in elsewhere, but it's just that it is a very, very select group, and you do have to be supremely talented to make it into one of those starting 5. You do.
Yeah, I think. Obviously, Lewis and Nathan, it's not your favourite basketball. Basketball isn't your favourite sport even, not your favourite basketball. What am I talking about? But we spoke about it the other day in a lecture. What do you think about the culture? Could you ever get into basketball? Would you be more likely to get into basketball or American football?
I like American football. I just like American sport. I like the whole atmosphere around American sports more than I don't know. I think I could more. It's just the time zones. It's just annoying how late they are. That's why I don't really watch it.
That's interesting. You said the atmosphere, because I'm not a Brexit British guy. That's not what I mean. But I love the British atmosphere behind sports. So football or rugby ground, the British.
The British, the British atmosphere. I mean, we like to laugh at what you might call the American atmosphere. I think when you say the American atmosphere, Nathan, do you mean like the fan entertainment and the fact that the crowd are usually quite boisterous, and that's really good. The funny thing is when you hear exactly what the crowd is saying, because I went to an ice hockey league match in this country, Nottingham against Cardiff Devils, and one of the guys that I went with Alex, you were just talking about, but the other guy I went with, he'd seen a chant he was teaching me. It's called "I Believe That We Will Win," and I've never heard of it. This is about 3 years ago. I've never heard of it, and so he directed me to this YouTube video, which is a load of university students at college basketball, literally just call and repeat "I believe" all the way to "I believe that we will win." And
mate,
it's so different to what you have over here.
It's tragic.
The crowd just thinking, "I believe that we will win."
To me, it's tragic. But I'm not saying I love hooliganism or anything, but I do love a British atmosphere ground. I think that's just. I've always been somebody that likes the British culture of sport. I've never really got into American sports. Other like I said, I'd watch the Super Bowl every year. So that's coming up soon. But I think we could wrap it up there, fellas. As Lewis has said, his laptop's on his last legs. So I think it's a good point to finish there. NBA, I think as we move through the podcast and through the season, NBA could be. I'm going to do some more research on it. I think you two fellas at the bottom, you could as well. And maybe we could track this season if it's shorter. I just think with American sports, I'm really bad at following the season. But when it comes to the playoffs or the actual events,
when it gets dramatic, it's brilliant.
I
like
the put it on telly. They really do.
That's why I love the playoffs and the championship. I love the playoffs and the championship as well. I quite like that model, and I like the model of in German football where they have the playoff from the division to the top division. Because I think we were talking earlier about the English game. We could talk about it in another podcast because we don't have much time left. But in the English game, the top teams want to change it. They were going to change it. I'd quite like to keep the 20 teams, but 18th position. So Fulham play Brentford in 3rd position, or whoever's in 3rd in the championship. See who.
Did they do a playoff? Do the championship teams still do a playoff, and then they face the 3rd bottom team?
The winners of the playoffs would play 18th.
Yeah, the winners of the playoffs. Yeah, that's better. Would play 18th. I like that. I think we should wrap up on that note. I'd like to just say again, rest in peace to Captain Tom Moore. Finish on that as well. Thank you for everything he did for the NHS, and we're all going through a really tough time at the moment. So again, like I said in a previous episode, especially after hearing some news again that COVID's got a new strain or a new mutation. So it's not the most positive news. If anyone wants to reach out, like I said, if you want to watch the episode where we spoke about mental health, it's really important to stick together during these times. And I think Captain Tom Moore was somebody that bolstered a lot of people's mental health. I know that it was pretty amazing to watch when I was following what was happening when he was walking around his garden at 99 years of age at the time. So just like to say rest in peace to him. And again, with the mental health, if anyone wants to reach out to any of us, even if you're just our mates and personally you want to speak to us about it, no hesitation there, because we're all going through some tough times. Thank you very much for everyone for their support on the previous episodes. I think we're going to have some discussions. We've made a bit of a change up. Lewis is here now. And we're going to have some discussions over. We did a quiz in a recent episode. If you want to go back to that, it's in episode 3. We're going to change the way we do that, I think. And there's going to be some discussions on the way we do quizzes. So there might be a quiz in either the next episode, episode 6, which will be out next week, or we could be doing, would you guys rather quizzes in episodes or separate videos of just quizzes? So let us know if you watch this. Let us know what your opinion on that. Thank you very much, and see you guys soon.